Okay. So let me just double check on YouTube to make sure that I'm live streaming here. Let me make sure that I'm live streaming on Instagram too. Or excuse me, I need to make sure and verify that I'm live streaming to X because it's my first time streaming to X. Yeah. All right. I'm live. I'm live on X. I'm not live on Facebook though. Or excuse me, I'm not live on YouTube yet. So let me just bear with me, folks, for anybody who's tuning in either live or in the future. The Lord has blessed me with many different gifts and skills. Technology is not one of them. I am a tech dinosaur, and I have no no shame in admitting that. Okay, I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on Instagram on my phone. I'm live on X. And let me double check to see if YouTube has kicked in yet. And I believe I'm live on YouTube. Okay, cool. I'm live on YouTube. All right, let's jump right in. I'm David Jeremiah. So if you're first time tuning in, I'm David Jeremiah. Today is Thursday, September 5th, 2024, 5:03 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm currently in Tualatin, Oregon. I've been here for a little over a month now. I'll be here for another week and a half, and then I get to go back to the sunny Southwest. I'll be flying into Phoenix, where I will be house and pet sitting for another 2 months until the middle of November. I've been doing house and pet sitting for 2.5 years now. I've completed 20 assignments, saved about $50,000 by not having to pay rent and utilities over the past 2+ years. So I go for my next assignment number 21, where I'll be in the Phoenix area for 2 months till the middle of November. I'll get the second half of November off, get a little break-ins for the holidays to spend Thanksgiving probably either back here in the Northwest or maybe with my family out there in the Valley. Haven't decided yet. And then I go back to San Diego for what I plan to be my very last assignment. I'll be there for a 3-month assignment, or just shy of 3 months, all of December, all of January, and about half of February. And so I'm excited because ready to hang up the leashes and officially retire from house and pet sitting, plant my first flag in the East Valley in Arizona. I'll still be traveling quite a bit out in and out of Arizona, but that's where I'll be home basing out of. Anyways, you might be wondering, why are you sitting topless? Because on Monday, September 2nd, 2024, that's actually the second day of the new Orthodox Church year. The Orthodox Church has the new calendar year begins on September 1st every single year. And so since September 1st fell on a Sunday, and I had a nice get together. First time I had a family reunion with my mother's family, my her on her mom's side. That was the first time we got together in 10 years. Last time we had a family reunion was in 2014. So I was able to spend all day Sunday with them after church, enjoying their company and enjoying a wonderful family reunion. But then on day two of the Orthodox Church year, on the new calendar year, is when I began day one of my 101-day challenge. What's the purpose of my 101-day challenge? It's simply to do a complete reset of the body, both, or not both, but mind, body, and soul. So yesterday I talked briefly about it. Mind, focusing on autosuggestion. The body, focusing on primarily adhering to a carnivore diet, as well as implementing cyclical fasting throughout the week. So I'll be doing variations of wet fasting, which is when you're just drinking water, and then dry fasting. Dry fasting is when you don't consume anything, you don't drink anything, you don't eat anything. And so I'll be doing variations of dry fasting and wet fasting every single week, primarily Monday through Friday. Variations of that. Sometimes I'll do it one day of the week, one fasting day of the week. Sometimes I'll do 2 days. Sometimes I'll do 3 or 4, just a combination. Just depends on how my body's feeling at the time. So last summer when I was in Houston, I did a 30-day water fast. Yes, that's crazy, I know. No one forced me to do it. I did it because I wanted to challenge myself. I've always wanted to do a 40-day water fast. So I tried to do a 40-day, but at 30 days, my body's like, bruh, you're done. It's time to call it. And so I made it 30 days with just drinking water, no food, no electrolytes, no nothing. So it wasn't the best idea, because if I can do it over again, I would. add electrolytes in after I distilled water down, because I bought a water distiller and I was killing, basically wiping all the fluoride and stuff in the water through distilling. But then if I could do it over again, I would actually add in electrolytes afterwards. And I believe if I would have done that, I would have easily been able to go the full 40 days of the water fast. But anyways, I completed a 30-day water fast last year at the end of October. I did a week of refeeding. And then, because I only had about a month left, I wanted to really experiment and try it, to try to do this, the next level of fasting. And that's where after a week of refeeding, following a 30-day fast, don't do this, by the way. This is not medical advice at all. If you are going to fast, which there are powerful, there's great power in fasting. I believe in fasting. The fasting has ability to heal the body, especially if you're going to combine it with a carnivore diet. I believe that it's like a superpower, both of those things. But if you combine them, amazing things happen, folks, especially if you're doing the water, you're hydrating properly, you're sleeping well, you're exercising consistently, and you don't even need to be doing hardcore, freaking crazy CrossFit workouts. You can just be doing something like walking, a little bit of yoga, stretching, some strength training. And again, you don't have to be freaking going berserk mode to do strength training to build muscle. And you do that combined, you'll heal your body and you'll strengthen your body. You'll have a better quality of life. Anyways, after I did 30 days of water fasting last year, I completed it like the very last week of October, my 30 days. I did a refeed for 1 week. I knew I only had 1 month left in Houston, so I got it in, which in hindsight probably shouldn't have done that. Should have waited more time. But I did a 3-day dry fast. It was my first time doing a dry fast. I did a 3-day dry fast, which means I did not eat or drink anything. And so I did a 3-day dry fast for the first week, and then after I broke my fast, I started eating and drinking again for 4 days. And then the following week, I did a 4-day dry fast. Again, nothing to eat, nothing to drink, not water, nothing. Did a 4-day dry fast, ate for 3 days, and then the last week, I did a 3-day dry fast again, ate for 4 days. I've not fasted since. I mean, I fasted, but not like intense like that. And so I discovered last summer the power of fasting, both wet and dry fasting, and then also the power of a carnivore diet. And so I fell off the wagon, like basically right after holidays. There are some things that I needed to work through, and I'm glad that I took the time to work through it, because now I come full circle and it's like, all right, it's time to get it on. So that's why part of the main emphasis on my 101 day challenge, because I've had people emailing me, forgive me for not responding, everybody, I've got other things going on. So, but people have been asking, hey man, what's the purpose of your 101 day challenge? That's interesting. It's, to sum it up, it's to do a full body reset. But obviously the body part is a major portion of that, doing a carnivore diet and cyclical fasting, proper hydration, a little bit of supplementation. I don't take a ton of supplements, just a few amount of supplements, consistent workout, and I'm going to be increasing my workload and variations in intensity as the time, as weeks go on, and I continue to get healthier, fitter, and stronger. That's the primary aim of the 101 day challenge, but also addressing the mind, building the mindset, and then also the spiritual side, because I lost 80 pounds last summer when I was in Houston, and it was just doing a bunch of different biohacking, a bunch of different experimentation, but I gained it all back. And so if you've ever struggled with your health, if you struggle with, losing weight and gaining it all back, losing weight, gaining it all back, or maybe there's other things that you wanted, you've been trying to work through that are a challenge for you, and then you make progress and then you fall back, you fall back. Like there's a temptation to be like, man, I'm just going to give up. Like I lose the weight and then I gain it back, lose the weight, or man, I promised myself I'm going to not do this and then I do it, or I go for a while by not drinking and then I drink, or whatever it is your thing, your Achilles heel, your passions, whatever they are. Don't give up. Like that's the last thing you want to do. Don't give up, especially if you know that it's something that you want to change. So for me, food has always been a thing. Samoans love to eat, Polynesians love to eat, and so I am Samoan, so it's part of me, right? I grew up in a culture where we enjoy eating, getting down, and so obviously I gained a weight back, but that doesn't mean that what I discovered last summer in Houston, I was there for about 6 months. That doesn't mean that the things that I discovered with the power of a carnivore diet and fasting is not real. It doesn't work, and it doesn't have the power to heal and transform your body. No, in fact, just the opposite. So that's why that's one of the main things of my 101-day challenge. So on Monday, I eliminated pretty much no more rice, no more bread, no more noodles, no more added sugar, and basically staying away from processed food. So eating primarily whole foods. But then I'm eating primarily meat. So I eat a ton of fatty meat, not lean meat, fatty meat. In fact, I usually go to Costco and I get. This is the weirdest thing because I found this hack last year when I was in Houston. If you go to Costco, you can go to the meat department and ask them for a 10-pound beef chub. A 10-pound beef chub. It is literally just like a tube, a 10-pound tube of beef, and that ends up bringing the price per pound on ground beef down by like 50 cents or more. And so it's just learning about it, because I hear people talking about like, oh, I can't afford to do a carnivore diet. Actually, you'd be surprised. Not only is it way more affordable, it's like the world's easiest diet because all you're doing is just eating meat. It's like fatty meat, and so it's not a difficult, I did keto, and there's like all these different keto products, plus you have to worry about being in ketosis and how many net carbs and all this stuff. Just freaking eat a fatty diet, a fatty meat diet, and you're good to go. It's like I said, it's the world's easiest diet if you're gonna try the carnivore diet, which I highly recommend you do and look into it because people are healing themselves. If you are unhealthy, if you are overweight, if you have type 2 diabetes, if you got any kind of ailments, like I'm willing to put good money on it that a carnivore diet, if not completely healed, will do a significant amount of good for you in helping you to regain better health. Anyways, I started on Monday, this past Monday, September 2nd, 2024. Today is day 4 of my 101-day challenge. One of the things that I did was I measured myself. I took my shirt off on Monday, because, I figured, why not? One of my goals is for fitness within less than a year from now is to compete in my first all natural bodybuilding competition. So I got to get used to taking off my shirt off anyways. But I figured, it's always easier I find it's always easier to talk about, you know, the things you have accomplished once you've accomplished them and looking back on it, right? So, like, say you get healthy, you transform your health, which is great. You lose all this weight or whatever, you rebuild your health and your fitness, and you just look phenomenal. You feel phenomenal, but then you turn around and talk about it, after the fact. And it's beneficial, it's helpful. But I always thought, man, it takes a lot more guts to no, no pun intended. It takes more guts to like show people where you are, where you're starting. So, anyways, I'm going to show you real quick. So, because I did this on Monday, but then for some reason it didn't take it didn't stick for some reason. But anyways, I posted a picture. That's my gut right now. That's what we're working with, folks. So I'm live streaming on my Instagram as well. So I already did my measurements. I'll write them out in a post later, but I'm on day 4. But this is going to be gone within, a couple of months from now. And for the first time, I'll be seeing in a long time, I'll start seeing abs again and being pretty fit. So if I can take off my shirt when I'm still a chubby dude and out of shape and unhealthy and like being willing to share my journey. And if you've been thinking about getting healthy and feeling like you need to make some changes, well, just think about me. Be like, dude, if that fat dude who's still fat and unhealthy and out of shape is willing to like embarrass himself, I'm not embarrassed because I know like, hey, I already have a vision of myself of where I will be in the not too distant future. So I'm willing to invite people along my journey as I build myself and transform myself publicly with the hope that maybe there's at least one person out there who's watching this and sees this and says, you know what, I've been wanting to take my health seriously. I've been wanting to get healthy and transform my health as well. If this dude's doing it, like I'm all about it too. And if you are, and if you're all about getting healthy too, DM me because like I'm trying to build a tribe of people that were like, yeah, let's all do this. This is not even the main thing that I'm going to be vlogging about. The main thing that I'm going to be documenting is building my empire. I have had a vision that I've walked away from for a lot of reasons, mainly due to limiting beliefs. But I've had a vision of building this empire and pursuing my dream of being one of the world's greatest entrepreneurs of all time and businessmen of all time. And as inspiring as the vision was and is, and as much as I desired it, I just didn't believe in myself at the time for so long at a subconscious level. And so I walked away from it. I freaked out because I'm like, well, if I really put myself into this and I give it my all, well, what happens if I fail? Then I'm gonna be so humiliated and embarrassed. Well, I'm sitting as a fat dude, live streaming to the whole world right now. You know what I mean? So like, I'm learning to get over those stupid beliefs. It's like, well, who cares? One day we'll all be dead anyways. So 100 years from now, no one's gonna care. No one's gonna 1,000 years from now, no one's gonna remember me, remember you. So like, why live life being fearful and not going after the things that we really want and not really putting ourselves out there? Sometimes I found for myself and for many other people that I've come across, people tend to be they worry too much about, and because for the longest time I did it. I'm 39 years old now, and it taking me a long time to get over the fear of what other people think, like living my life according to other people's expectations. I'm tired of that. So anyways, my main thing that I'm going to be building publicly, or sharing my journey publicly, is building the empire, because it's all about achieving my purpose in life, and in the process hopefully inspiring you to go pursue what your purpose is in life, and then for you to go build your empire, and go build what brings you to life and makes you light up, and have that desire to live, right? But having a healthy body and a healthy mind and a healthy soul is part of that, right? If you discover and you know what your purpose is, great. But if your health is crap, that's not great. You're going to have a very hard time living out your purpose in life if your health is trash. So I believe the foundation, in my opinion, for human beings to really truly live a fulfilling and a meaningful life begins with the spiritual. It begins with the spiritual. You have to be willing to ask yourself and do the honest work of asking and answering the universal questions, like, why are we here? What is the meaning of life? Is there a meaning to life? Is there purpose in life? Is there a creator, or are we just here by sheer accident? Those are the universal questions in life that gets to the spiritual. Once you have that, and this, you don't have to do this first and then do the other things. Like, you can do that simultaneously. In fact, I recommend you do spend time throughout every single day contemplating eternity, contemplating life, contemplating creation, contemplating the universe, like these deep questions that human beings have grappled with for all the time, for all of human history. But the next is health. So you have the spirituals. It's like building, layer upon layer. The first and most important is the spiritual, and then the next is health and fitness. And once you establish that and you start getting that going while you're continually seeking the spiritual, then more of the vocational aspect of what am I going to do? It doesn't matter how old you are, even if you're retired. If you're still alive, like, you can still go for something else, because oftentimes what I found is purpose changes, and I would say actually purpose is change. I believe that every single human being has both a primary and secondary purposes. Primary is theosis, that's living in union with God. I'm not qualified to talk on that. I can point people to the resources and people who are more qualified to talk on that. But I believe that in my spiritual quest and journey, I found after almost 4 decades of being alive, I believe that every single human being has a primary purpose, which is the same for all human beings everywhere. And that is to live in union with God, to know Him through experience, not just intellectually, but to truly know Him and experience Him. Then we have secondary purposes, plural, and that's vocationally, like, what are we here for? Like, what kind of gifts do we have? What kind of skills and interests do we have and abilities? What opportunities are there for us to pursue? Whether it's something to pursue to make money and generate revenue to make a living from, or just something that we do outside of that. And then our other secondary purpose are also things like, being a husband, being a wife, being a mother, being a father, being a sister, a brother, a son, being involved in a community, being a coach, like whatever the things are, the other purposes are. But everything, all these secondary purposes, they're not the end all. The end all is the primary purpose. All these other things are subservient to the top priority in life, the primary purpose in life, which is to know God, to live in union with Him, to live in harmony with God. That is my worldview and my belief. Now, in regards to vocational stuff, that's the stuff that I'm more interested in sharing about. I love the spiritual, and I would be pointing people to resources and people that know way more about the topic than I do. But the thing that really fires me up is the stuff that makes people tick, like when it comes to like dialing in what you're here for outside of the primary purpose. And that's the stuff that I'm really going to be talking about a lot on this. But I figured, well, I'm also a chubby dude and out of shape and unhealthy and journeying, improving my overall, metabolic health. That's my journey simultaneously while I'm pursuing my other secondary purposes. Why not talk about that too? Because my aim is I want to be helpful. I've always wanted to help people ever since I was a kid. I wanted to help people. So it's like, hey, if this is a way that I can help people too, even if it means, momentarily embarrassing myself, which I'm not really. Like before, I'd be like, oh my God, I would never take off my shirt until I'm ripped. Like, oh, I can never do that. Like, well, whatever. Like chubby dude sitting here, going live for the whole world to see. And I don't care anymore because I already have a vision. That's actually what I wanted to talk about today. So let me transition. So the thing that I talked about is I put on, at least you can see it on Facebook in the description, is set big goals that inspire you. So yesterday I talked about autosuggestion. If you weren't here from that, if you don't know what autosuggestion is, do yourself a favor and go look it up. Autosuggestion. The first time I heard about that phrase was in the Think and Grow Rich book by Napoleon Hill. That is an iconic book that's been around for over 100 years that has impacted millions and millions of lives. Most of the people that you and I know publicly in the public eye, especially entrepreneurs and business people, they have all read that book and like point to that book as being pivotal in heavily influencing their life and their success. And it's not just entrepreneurs, but pro athletes, world leaders. So I found many years ago that if you're looking up to people, people that you admire, that you're learning from, and like you're doing everything you can to like kind of learn from them. If those people are talking about the same books, like you hear this person, like say you have like 10 favorite people that you're just like, hey man, these people are like my heroes. They're like my mentors, my role models. Well, if all 10 people are talking about the same book and say that, man, this book is powerful, it's impacted my life, even if you're not a reader, it should at least spark a little bit of a, why do all these people that I admire and look up to, why do they keep mentioning the same exact books and pointing to those same exact books or podcasts or other people, or resources? I keep hearing the same exact resources. Maybe I should go look into that. That's actually what got me into reading. I used to hate reading. I probably have like undiagnosed ADD or ADHD, or just kind of like, I just didn't have the discipline to read. But out of my curiosity and out of my appreciation for so many of these mentors that I look up to, and I kept hearing these same books and resources. It led me to be curious, like, what's in that book? Because everybody's talking about this book, And so, anyways, that's the first time I heard about autosuggestion, and it didn't make any sense, quite honestly. Like when I first read about it, I was like, and it took me a while. It took me actually a couple of years to finally realize, wait a second, there is something powerful about autosuggestion. So if you don't know what autosuggestion is, or you've never heard about it before, or maybe you have, but you maybe haven't really delved into it, go do yourself a favor and research. There's a gentleman, or he's passed away since. His name is Emil Koo. I always pronounce, for all my French-speaking people out there, please forgive me. I want to master conversational French and be fluent in it one day. Right now, I am nowhere near, as you can tell. His name is Emile, Emile. His last name is Coue. And he had all these. He was a psychiatrist and a psychologist and a pharmacist. But he found a way to help people to heal themselves through actively programming their subconscious mind. And the simple thing is, he always would tell people, and this is what I did. I did this last summer, and it definitely completely helped to transform my life until I stopped doing it. But he said, repeat this phrase every single day, 20 times every single day, right before you go to bed, 20 times when you wake up in the morning. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Repeat that 20 times right before you go to bed, right when you wake up. And just keep going about your day. What's going to happen is your subconscious mind, and my subconscious mind, it's always listening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when you're sleeping. Your subconscious mind is paying attention, and it's going to capture things that you're feeding it, whether you're actively programming it, like saying every day and every way I'm getting better and better. So whether when you're saying these things, your subconscious mind, my subconscious mind, it's picking it up. I've learned, because the more I learn about the subconscious mind, the more I'm very careful about what I say out loud, because I know my subconscious mind's listening. So I used to be very negative on myself, like have horrible negative self-talk. Like I would just beat myself up, like verbally, whenever I did something wrong. I'd start laying into myself. What's going to happen is your subconscious mind picks up on it and it starts looking for evidence. If you're telling yourself, "Oh, you're such a loser. Why do you do this? Like you're an idiot." Da 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 da. Well, guess what? Your subconscious mind's going to go to town on looking for all the different examples in your life to prove what you're telling it, to prove it true. But if you're saying every single day, like every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. I also started programming. I need to start doing this now. Just remember it today. Like, hey, I started doing this last summer, and it helped me to really transform it and get way more fitter before I fell off the wagon earlier this year. But I also used to say, I'm a peak performance athlete. I'm a peak performance athlete. What ends up happening is, even if you don't believe it at first, what ends up happening is when you're saying stuff like that, I'm a peak performance athlete, or something along those lines, or I'm a healthy, fit, man or woman. Your mind, your subconscious mind, will start actively looking for evidence that you're doing throughout your life, and it's eventually going to impact what you're doing consciously. Because then you'll be like, oh, wait a second, I'm telling myself there's a there's a disconnect here. If I'm telling myself that I'm a peak performance athlete and I'm not exercising, or I'm eating like crap, it's like, oh, wait a second. Hopefully it gives you enough pause. We're like, well, no, I'm not going to eat that, because that's not in congruence with what I know to be true about myself. So you and I can actively program our subconscious mind. So over time, it completely changes the way that we think and the way that we actually believe, and then what we actually do. It affects our behaviors. And then over time, when we do the same behaviors, it becomes a habit. And guess what? Boom, completely different. That's where you have transformation. And so do yourself a favor, go read that book. You can actually listen to it. In fact, I do recommend you listen to it. That's how I read the book. I'm a very big on auditory learning. So I've listened to tons and tons of books, because I can just plow through books. When I used to be really dialed into reading, I would go through probably I would read like 2 to 3 books a week, like, because I'm plowing through them. I listen to them. I even fast forward the speed so I can just pick it up. That's kind of why I probably talk super fast. But I recommend listening to the book if you can. And if not, just read it. I think his book is called Self-Mastery Through the Power of Autosuggestion, or something along those lines. But look him up, Imiku. So I talked about that yesterday, of being the first way to reboot your mind. Autosuggestion. Learn about it. What is this? Is this fluff? Is this fake? Or is there something real here? I say that something real is legitimate, right? The next thing, though, in addition to autosuggestion, is visualization. You'll see this right here. Arnold, he's one of my heroes. Let me see over here if StreamYard can see that. Okay. So Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's one of my favorite entrepreneurs. But I read plenty of his books, his autobiography, Total Recall, My Unbelievable True Life Story. I read his recent book that came out, Be Useful. I also read some other stuff, plenty of stuff. But one of the things that I really identify with him is he has a power to visualize. I mean, we all do, but some of us, it's easier for other people than others, or some of us, it's easier for some people to visualize than it is for others. Visualization is basically when you're creating the image. Imagination is powerful. Albert Einstein, I was just reading something about that, how even Albert Einstein was talking about the power of imagination and how important it is. Again, if there are people that you look up to, whether they passed away or they're still alive, they're your mentors, your heroes, whatever, or people that have excelled in something that you're really interested in. Well, if these people continue to say the same things, or point to the same resources, or they're talking about something like the power of imagination, how it's so understated and people don't realize just how powerful it is, that should be a clue for you. I'm like, wait a second, everyone just kind of blowing past this stuff, but I'm noticing patterns here. Let me kind of pay attention and lean into what is it about imagination? What is it about visualization? What is it about autosuggestion? So visualization, it's basically imagination, using your imagination to visualize like the life that you want, right? And get very specific about it. For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I love this about him. When he was like in his a young teenager in Austria, he saw Reg Park. Reg Park was a bodybuilder. He was Mr. Olympia. He was a famous actor. He was from South Africa. But when he saw him, Arnold saw him as a young teenager, where he's big, he's strong, he's in all these movies. You know, he saw him on these posters, and he saw that he's Mr. Olympia. Arnold was like, I want to be like that guy. Like this guy's he created a blueprint for me. I'm just going to do that with my life. So what Arnold would start doing is obviously he would be working out. He would do the work. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be the next Mr. Olympia and then not work out. That doesn't, there's a disconnect there. If you're saying you want something, but then you're not doing the work, there's no behavioral congruence. That's a phrase I heard from Craig Ballantyne. He wrote a book called Perfect Day Formula. And basically, how do you create the perfect day? What's the formula? Is it just by luck? People are the very successful people are, achieve success in their lives. Is it just by luck and happenstance? No, actually, like if you're looking at patterns, these successful people, what do they do differently in their lives? Oh, guess what? I can actually copy what they do. I can take what I like and actually put something together that works for me. So again, picking up these patterns and clues. But anyways, in that book, Perfect Day Formula, that's what Craig Ballantyne talks about, is the behavioral congruence. And what you want is you want to be able to see this. Your behaviors, what you're doing is matching up with what you say you're going to do. If you say this is what I want this. I really want this in life and I'm going to do it. Well, then your actions and your behaviors have to actually match that. And if they're not matching, there's not going to be congruence, right? There's going to be a disconnect. But by actively programming your subconscious mind, and then starting small, little by little, you're going to start seeing, oh, your subconscious mind's. If you're saying, oh, I'm a peak performance athlete, and say you're super out of shape like me, right? If I'm saying I'm a peak performance professional athlete, but I'm not doing anything that shows any kind of shred of proof of that. Like I'm not even working out. I'm not even eating healthy. Like my subconscious mind is like, there's a big major disconnect. And what's going to happen is what's going to take a hit is your confidence. Like me, like because I didn't have the action part, my confidence for so long took a huge hit because I was feeding my subconscious mind and visualizing this stuff, but I wasn't doing the work to actually make sure that there was congruence there. And so what's cool is Arnold, when he was a teenager, he would work out, he would do the work. Like as a teenager, he would be lifting weights. But the power of visualization is when he was doing the work, he didn't have a radio, he didn't have music. He said when he was a kid, he would be working out by himself in his room, working out. And he didn't have any music to pump him up or anything like that. He was working out and it was like dead silent, because he wasn't living like a huge city. He was living like in a village in Austria, a small, quiet little town or village in Austria. So he's working out with just silence, right? Right? It's just silence, just working out in silence. But what he said is it was the greatest thing because for him, he was able to visualize himself being the next Mr. Olympia. Every single rep, he's like visually, I'm getting closer with every single repetition I do. I'm getting closer to realizing my vision of being Mr. Olympia, of being, this bodybuilder, this ultimate bodybuilder. And then at nighttime, before he go to bed, he had these posters of Reg Park and other bodybuilders, famous bodybuilders. And he would lay down on his bed and look up, and he would see, Reg Park in a pose, Mr. Olympia pose. And he said, I would stare at that image in my room of Reg Park, and I would imagine. Remember these words, imagine. I would use my imagination, and I would visualize my head in place of his head. I would imagine my face over his face, but with his body. 5 years later, he's Mr. Olympia. Right? That is powerful, folks. And if you follow his story, you see, like, dang, like that is a powerful visionary. And one of the reasons why I like him the most, I've studied hundreds of different entrepreneurs, past, present, right? And in all kinds of different industries. It is insane how much that pattern of being able to visualize and being able to imagine a better future, imagine the future that actually inspires and draws you. It is insane how common it is among the most successful people, and not even just in entrepreneurs. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady. Like, you look at people who have excelled and become an absolute grandmaster in whatever their field is. I guarantee you're going to see somebody who knows how to visualize and who has tapped into the power of visualizing what they want, right? Even if in the present there's no shred of evidence that says that this is like, yeah, this is you're going to make this happen, right? When he was 5 years before Arnold became Mr. Olympia, he was still like a nobody. Nobody knew him, but he had the vision, he had the dream, he had the goal, and he was driven by the goal, and the goal helped him to visualize. Once you set the goal, in this book, 10x is easier than 2x. This is a phenomenal book. I've read this multiple times. I'm reading it through again within the same year. I read this at least 4 times in less than a year. But what they talk about when you're setting big goals, 10x goals, they say it's actually easier to set impossible goals. You know, it's a 10x goal when you don't even know if you're going to be able to do it or how to do it, let alone there's a little bit of fear, like, oh, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this. So this is impossible. Good. That's the goal to set. If you set a goal and you're like, oh yeah, I know for sure I'm going to hit that, that's no problem. That's not a 10x goal, because a 10x goal is going to actually cause you a little bit of like, I don't know. That seems kind of freaky. Like, I don't know if I can do that. That is a huge goal. That's the goal to set, right? That's the goal to set. But what they say is in this book, the 10x is easier than 2x, is set the goal, the 10x goal, right? The goal determines the process. And it's a 10x goal because if it's a 10x goal, not only does it cause a little fear, but you don't know how to do it. And you don't have the skills or the know-how to do it. But because you committed yourself to the goal and you have no idea how it's going to even happen, but you just know, I'm committing myself to this and I'm going to achieve this goal. That's how you achieve insane goals. And they say it's actually easier to achieve impossible goals. And it seems counterintuitive, right? It's easier to achieve impossible goals than it is to achieve realistic goals. In this case, the 2x goals are like more realistic goals, and 10x is the unrealistic, impossible goals. But they say it's easier to hit those higher 10x goals because when you set the 10x goal, there's usually only like one way, maybe two, that you can actually achieve this goal. But when you're setting 2x goals, like more impossible goals, like realistic goals, there's so many different ways that you can get to the goal. It can get overwhelming, right? You're like, well, I can go this way or this way. I can do this and this. Well, if you're setting a crazy freaking goal that's way out here, there's probably only going to be one way to do it. Maybe only 2 ways, but the more impossible the goal, the more clear the path gets, where it's like, yeah, if you want to do that, the only way that you're going to do that is by taking this route. Period. Right. So that's why they say it's easier to set 2x or 10x goals than it is for 2x. Anyways, I want to keep on going here. So that's why I was saying set big goals that inspire you. That's going to help you to visualize. Right. And so I've shared publicly, and sometimes I don't know if you're like this. Some people are like this, where you can get a little fearful to set big goals because you're like, well, I've set goals before and I failed. And maybe I've been told friends or family about it, and they're all hyped and I was hyped, and then I failed miserably, didn't even come close to achieving those goals. And then I felt stupid. I felt embarrassed. I felt like, man, why did I even open my fat mouth? Now I look like an idiot or whatever like that. First of all, people don't care. like, I hate to break it to you, but like, I used to think like that too. Like, oh, people are going to think them like, people are going to think about this. Oh, David's this, David's that. Bro, David, nobody cares about you, bro. Like, not in a negative way, but like everybody's so focused on their own lives. Like, no one's waiting for you to like fail so they can be like, ha, I told you, you failed. Like nobody's doing that. And if they are, it's probably because they don't have a life, and it's probably because they're too afraid to go pursue their own goals and live a more meaningful, fulfilling life. And so you get that out of the way. And I'm encouraging people. And I've done this for many, many years now, where I worked with kids in high school, at risk, high school, in the high schools, at risk youth who are, to try to do gang prevention. And that's one of the things that I would try to encourage them to do, is to dream big, to think big, like think a little bit further down the road. I told them, because they're in high school, so at the time, these kids were teenagers. And so I would tell them, hey, think 20 years out. And I remember the first time I did that was the first time when I met these kids when I used to work in high schools with at-risk youth. The very first thing I said when they're all in the classroom, I said, hey, 20 years from now, if money's not an issue and you can do anything you want, what would you do? And like, I was shocked by all those, like people, man, I'm just trying to get out of freshman year. I'm just trying to make it to next. I'm just trying to make it to the, not flunk out of this year and make it to the next year. And so that was a little bit too far. But over time, when I would get the kids one-on-one and I would encourage them and I would push them, I would say, no, I want you to think. I want you to think, think a little bit further out. You're 40 years old. I know it seems so old, but like, you're 40 years old. What do you want? What's the most ideal life you could want? And they're like, and I got a lot of times people would say, well, I don't want to say it because I'm going to feel stupid. People are going to laugh at me. I'm like, bro, you see me laughing at you? You know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, tell me. And then when they would tell me, I'd be like, dude, that's awesome. They'd be like, really? I'm like, yeah, bro, then that's awesome, man. You should do that. Don't ever forget that, man. Don't let that be your North Star that you constantly aim at. Don't let anybody discourage you. It's a good dream, man. And it's a good goal. It's a good goal to go for, to aim at. And so just how I told kids that, they're not kids now because this was, 14 years ago or something like that. But just as I was telling those high school kids back then, it's the same thing that I tell people now, especially with what I'm doing, part of where I'm going live. It's like, hey, set the big goals. Who cares what anybody else thinks? If it's a goal that's going to drive you, if it's a goal that's an honest goal, like it's a goal that you actually really want to accomplish because it means a lot to you, because you so resonate with it, then set the goal. But then you got to do the work. And part of the work is programming your subconscious mind through the autosuggestion. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. Say that 20 times before going to bed, 20 times right when you wake up. Visualize. Spend a couple minutes right after you say that. This is what I'm doing right now. I say, every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. Because I'm an Orthodox Christian and my spiritual father recommended, he said, add in because of you, Lord. So I do that. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better because of you, Lord. And I say that 20 times right before I fall asleep. After I say that for 20 times, I repeat those 20 times in a row. Then I lay there and visualize a specific event, not a general event, a specific event in the future. And I visualize that event in the future, like that specific event. What's an event? All right. Like I said, I encourage people to dream big and set big goals, even if there's no tangible proof or any shred of evidence that this is a realistic goal to set. I'm all about setting unrealistic, impossible goals, because I tend to believe those are not only the goals worth pursuing and achieving, but those are the ones going to help us grow the most. Those are going to be goals that help us transform and become completely different people and better for it. And when we set those impossible goals, we just might achieve them, right? Especially if we're doing the work and we're becoming the people that we must become in order to achieve those higher goals. So I've said this before. I'm focusing, and it's because I've learned from Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I'm focusing on three top priorities in my life: health and fitness, career and finance, marriage and family. I'm choosing two categories but making them one, because health and fitness, to me, they're the same thing. The healthier I get, the fitter I get. The fitter I get, the healthier I get. So they're two in a one, right? So health and fitness is my top priority. Second one, career and finance. The better I get in my career, the more finances I have, and vice versa, right? It's just the way I envision things. Lastly, marriage and family. They're the same. But I'm going to share my goals publicly so I can hopefully encourage people to say, like, if this is crazy enough to sit there when he's fat and tubby and still out of shape and unhealthy, and be willing to share what he's doing and what he believes in and what he's working towards, maybe I should have some courage too. Maybe it's okay for me to be courageous and pursue my own dream, or maybe it's right for me to, I can get healthy and get fit. I can pursue this dream that maybe my friends or family maybe laughed at me about, or maybe people said I can't do it. At some point, you got to stop living according to other people's lives. I have to stop living according to other people's lives and expectations. And you just got to make a decision, make a call, and say, hey, I really don't care what anybody else says. This is the life that I want, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go pursue this. So what's the big goal that I'm setting 10 years out from now? 10 years out from now, by the time I'm 49, the year is, 2034, right? Is that 2034? Yeah, 2034. So 2034, 10 years from now, what are my goals that I want? Some big goals that I want to achieve just within the lane and the priority of health and fitness. I've competed in 2 Summer Olympics. I will compete in the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, and I will compete again in the 2032 Summer Olympics in Brisbane, Australia. There is no like shred of evidence or proof, tangible proof that I should be. I mean, bruh, like it's like I'm still a tubby fat dude. I weighed in today at 281 pounds. I need to get down to 170 pounds at my walk around weight. That's before I even start training in the sport that I've never even trained in before. I didn't hear about this sport until earlier this year when I started flirting with the idea of setting this goal, because I was like, man, that'd be kind of cool to do that sport, that event. Anyways, the sport's modern pentathlon. It's 5 different events. So I'm setting a goal, a 10x goal, an impossible goal, what most people think is absolutely crazy, impossible, highly improbable, highly impractical. I don't care. I'm setting a goal because it's a goal that I want to achieve. And it is a goal that's going to drive me. Is it because I had this lifelong dream of being an Olympian? No. My ultimate aim is to constantly achieve higher and higher levels of optimal metabolic health by training consistently, as an Olympic athlete does, as a peak performance professional athlete does. Do you think that's going to help me to achieve my overall aim and goal of constantly achieving higher levels of metabolic health and fitness? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And even before, so the 10-year goal from now is I will have competed in 2 Summer Olympics, right? 2028 Los Angeles, 2032 Brisbane, Australia. And then on top of that, I'm going to compete in a Hawaii Ironman. I hate running, folks. I hate it. I love sprinting, but I hate running long distance. But I set a goal. I'm going to complete the Hawaii Ironman. Another goal for health and fitness is mainly on the fitness side, but again, health and fitness, they tie together, is beginning this year. So by September 1st, 2025, I'm going to compete in my first all-natural bodybuilding competition. And I'm planning to compete every year for the next 10 years. It's another way. Is it because I've had this lifelong dream of being a bodybuilder? No. In fact, I'm not going to have the typical bodybuilder, stereotype body of like the big and bulky. I've already been big and bulky for freaking 20 years. I'm done being big and bulky. There are different weight classes and different categories to compete in. I'm going to compete eventually in the men's the men's physique category. That's more of like the beach body. The bodies that you see on the Men's Fitness magazine, that's the category that I'm aiming to compete in. And that's the physique that I'm looking to build. That also ties into my other goals of competing in 2 separate Olympics, because in order to compete in those sports, in the sport of modern pentathlon, I need to be thinner. I need to be leaner. What is modern pentathlon? Ultimately, it was designed, the sport as it is right now was designed or introduced in Olympics a little over 100 years ago. And the sport was to test the ultimate soldier. I've always desired to be this warrior, right? Samoans it's a warrior culture. Ever since I was a kid, I always longed to be this warrior. Well, what fitting of a sport than modern pentathlon? The modern pentathlon it tests the ultimate soldier, because the ultimate soldier, the theory back then, 100 years ago, was the ultimate soldier should be able to ride a horse. And if they came, say they had to deliver a message, that ultimate soldier would have to ride a horse, and say they came into a body of water, they would have to be able to swim a certain distance. And then when they get over, to the other side of the water, they'd have to be able to run a certain distance. And then if they came against, enemies, they'd have to be able to pull out a pistol and shoot. And if they ran out of ammo, they'd have to be able to pull out a sword and sword fight. So the modern pentathlon, as it's been, is it's involved horse jumping, a 2-mile run, pistol shooting, fencing, and an 800-meter swim or 200-meter swim, I think. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the sport of modern pentathlon. Well, for the first time in 2028 in Los Angeles, that Olympics, they're removing the horse category of the sport, and it's actually going to be a Ninja Warrior obstacle course, which is freaking insane, right? So, but again, I've set the goal. I'm going to compete not in one, but in 2 Summer Olympics. I have no idea how I'm going to do that, especially because right now in my current state, I'm still fat, unhealthy, and out of shape. But that's okay. Like, I've set the goal. This is the goal I want. I know that if I train consistently, I adopt the right proper human diet, which I believe to be a carnivore diet, and I'm consistent in training and in working with the right coaches, like, I will compete in the Summer Olympics, 2 of them back to back. I will also complete, not just compete, but complete a Hawaii Ironman, which is like the ultimate test of, athleticism and endurance for endurance athletes. Aside from the ultra marathons, which I'm never going to do that. Forget that. No. But like I said, and I'm also going to be competing beginning this year in annual all natural bodybuilding competitions. Me doing that, competing in the bodybuilding competitions, is not to win trophies. Like, I'm not trying to, like, oh, I'm going to win this trophy. It's like, no, I'm going to compete because it's another way for me to be honest. It's another accountability tool to make sure that I'm doing the work year round by consistently eating the right foods to heal and fuel my body constantly to achieve my ultimate aim and goal, which is achieving optimal metabolic health, right? It just so happens that, hey, I'm going to take my shirt off and get in some trunks and go pose, once a year and compete. Okay, cool. I checked the box and I achieved that goal for the year. I said I was going to do this. I prepared for it and I did it. So that's the benefit of setting big, bold, impossible goals that most people would think is crazy, even if there's no shred of evidence and no proof today that this is a goal that you can actually achieve. Because read this book, I highly recommend you do. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, read it. This is one of the best books about setting goals. But when you do that, when you do the exercise of learning how to set 10x goals, you're really doing the work of blowing the lid off of what you think is possible, right? And you're allowing yourself to dream bigger and say, man, what if? For me, like, I'm 49 years old. Like, right now I'm 39, but I put myself in 49. Like, I'm 49 years old, man, competing in 2 Summer Olympics, competing 10 years in a row in all natural bodybuilding competitions, competing completing the Hawaii Ironman, and competing and mastering all these different skill sets and, like, pistol shooting, fencing, swimming, 200-meter swim, 2-mile run. I hate running, right? I've always hated running, right? Doing the obstacle course, but at a professional level, like, that goal, that would just be that's so insane. Like, that's impossible. That goal, that vision that I have for my life, in regards to my health and fitness goals, it would be utterly impossible, absolutely stupid to think that I can actually achieve that. So it's impossible unless the following was true, ... And that's where the work and the fun comes in, because it's like, okay, well, let's say I did set that goal and I achieved it, right? What would have to be true? Well, I'd have to be in excellent metabolic health. I'd have to be a year-round athlete, and I would have to have my training, my rest, and my recovery dialed in. I'd have to consult with multiple different professionals, because I'm consulting with people to train me to be a master in the pistol and shooting. I have to work with somebody who's going to train me to be a master in swimming so I can get the best edge. I have to train with people to do the obstacle course, right? I have to train with people to do all these different small categories, or these different 5 sports, right? These events. Okay, if all that was true, now I can see the goal being a little bit more. It's not as crazy after all, right? And then it's funny because my stepdad, I'm staying with my folks right now. I've been here for a month. I'm here for another week and a half. I just happened to mention in passing 2 days ago to my stepdad. I was like, yeah, he's talking about goals and stuff. I was like, yeah, my health goals. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm glad, I'm excited to have set those goals because I committed to it. He's like, what would you commit to? I was like, I'm going to compete in a Hawaii Ironman. He was like, what? Because he used to be a triathlete. And he wanted one of his goals in life was to go to the Olympics and compete in a marathon and complete, an Ironman, right? And so we started talking about that. And so he already started giving me advice to say, hey, you know what? I'd recommend you start with swimming because swimming is going to be your strong base and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's confirmation because I'm still nomadic for the next 6 months. But I know once I get back to Arizona in the spring, like right around, end of winter, beginning of spring, the first sport that I'm going to start getting into is swimming because fencing and shooting are much more skill based. Eventually obstacle course too, but it's like, okay, well, I can at least jump into the water a couple days a week and start swimming and start adding that and getting better and better at that. And then when the time is right, start adding in fencing, pistol shooting, man, it's starting to build out my skill sets, all these, and not only just building out the skill sets, but part of the plan in order to achieve the goal that I envision for myself 10 years out from now is going to compete in all these events. So it's not like I'm just training year round in pistol shooting. It's like, no, I'm training, but then I'm going to compete in shooting shows, in shooting tournaments. I'm going to be training all the time in fencing, but then I'm going to be going and competing nationally and internationally in fencing. And same for all these other sports, the world obstacle course. I'm going to go run Tough Mudders, Spartan races. And then there's actually a world, official world championship level obstacle course racing. So it's like, okay, if this is the goal that I say I'm setting for myself and I really want, and it seems so crazy and impossible, especially right now, but if I did achieve it, what would have to be true? Okay, well, starting now, I have to get very serious and stay committed and be disciplined in my nutrition, first and foremost, always. And then I have to start dialing in my workouts and start really building my body. So for the next 6 months, because I'm super out of shape right now, I'm still currently morbidly obese, as you can tell, I'm sitting in, topless right now. But for the next 6 months, my focus is on healing the body and building my body little by little. And I found different programs on how to literally build my body from the ground up, right? And so it's simply by walk 45 minutes every day, get out and walk. And then DDP yoga, helping to break up old scar tissue, increase flexibility. I found this other program too that I'm going to start adding in combination with yoga. DDP yoga it was created by Diamond Dallas Page. He's a retired wrestler, but he created this program. It's phenomenal. You can find it online and pay a subscription, and it's definitely worth every single penny. But I'm going to be doing that as part of my program to help, stretch out my body, break up the old scar tissue. And then eventually, when I get back into Arizona, I'm going to get the other app called Pliability, which is going to further help me to break up more scar tissue and more flexible and more pliable body, right? And then knees over toes. If you got knee problems, if you got feet problems or ankle problems, which I do, I got old injuries. That's a phenomenal program that you don't even have to pay a penny. Go look on YouTube, knees over toes, the knees over toes guy, social media, look it up. But I'm going to be incorporating his stuff. I had 2 surgeries on my shoulder before I even graduated from high school from football. And so I got to rebuild my shoulders. I've already got a program for that. And then because I'm still nomadic and traveling, I found something last summer when I was researching what's the most optimal way to train a body to build muscle. This is the X3 bar that I got that I'm going to be using consistently to help build muscle. But over the next 6 months, the name of the game is getting down to, like I said, I weighed in at 281 today, 281, 282. My goal is by the time I finish my last assignment in the middle of February is get down to 170. That's my goal weight that I'll be walking around at, because to be able to compete effectively in fencing, because you need the speed and agility, fencing, as well as the run, as well as the obstacle course, you can't be bulky, you know what I mean? And like just a meathead moving around, you got to be really flexible, really agile. And so that's part of the reason why I'm looking at that physique. So I'll be working with a bodybuilding coach and say, hey, here's the vision I have for myself. This is why I'm getting into bodybuilding. I'm not trying to be bulk. like a typical bodybuilder, I need to build the right physique that's going to give me the best edge to compete in these sports, because I am going to compete in 2 Summer Olympics. So I need to build my body and get it to a point to where I can compete not only in these Olympics, 2 Olympics within the next decade, but to be able to go and compete year round in all these different tournaments, year round in swim meets, year round in pistol meetings, shooting, year round in fencing, year round in obstacle course training, year round in runs, doing little quarter marathons and half marathons and stuff like that, just to make sure that I'm, as much as I hate running, get myself up to the point where I can run, pretty well. The best I've ever done, and this was when I was wrestling in high school, I got my run time for my mile down to like, the lowest I got it down was like 5 minutes and 15 seconds, which is pretty good. But that's not Olympic good. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to need to be able to not only get in shape, but I got to be able to work with the coaches and train and push my body, in a way that's not going to break the body or, damage the body, but actually heal the body and to get it healthier, fitter, and stronger. But part of that process of me being able to go and realize my whole vision and goals for my life in regards to this category is I've got to actually go out and get my run times sub 5, like in the 4s. Because in the Olympic level, they combine they call it the laser run now. So you actually run 2 miles total, but you stop. I think you stop like every quarter of a mile or something like that, and you actually have to pick up a pistol and shoot and hit your targets. You can't keep running again until you hit all those targets. Once you hit them, then you can continue running. But you're running and you're stopping and shooting. You're running, stopping, shooting. So I need to be able to get my run time down like closer to a 4-minute mile, and still be able to shoot effectively. I mean, on a dot, even though I'm huffing and puffing, I got to be able to stop, boom, shoot, blah, 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 and then keep running. To me, that's exciting, right? Because again, as I set the goal and I commit to it, it's like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to even achieve this. Most people think I'm crazy, but the good thing, I don't live according to other people's expectations anymore. I don't care what people think is crazy and impossible. I don't anymore. I used to. And that's a number one way to live a miserable life is live your life according to other people's expectations. You are guaranteed to be successful in living a miserable life. And I've lived that for far too long, so I'm not doing that anymore. I choose to not do that anymore. I choose to live the life that I'm imagining, the life that will inspire me. Again, I've never had this lifelong goal of being an Olympian, competing in completing an Ironman and competing, as a all natural bodybuilder. I never had those visions and goals. Those are newer goals. But it came out of my desire to achieve the higher goal, which is consistently achieving higher levels of optimal metabolic health. Doing all these other things, it's just going to be a fun way to help me achieve that goal, right? I'll meet a lot of people in the process. I'll learn a lot. I'll grow a lot. I'll develop a lot of cool skills and fun skills that I think are great. So why not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and is there a possibility of me failing miserably? Can I fail miserably at the end of the day and never get even close to being in the Olympics, let alone competing in 2 Olympics, competing and completing the Hawaii Ironman, and competing back to back to back for 10 years straight in all natural bodybuilding? Is there a possibility that I will fail miserably and spectacularly and not get anywhere close to achieving that? Yeah, of course, 100%. That's part of the fun and the risk of setting goals that actually excite you and get you like fired up. Because it's like, if it was just like a boring goal where you're like, yeah, if I, like I'm not really that inspired, it's like, well, why even set the goal in the beginning, to begin with? But if they're goals that are actually going to fire you up and move you, especially to the ultimate aim for me, metabolic health and fitness, ultimate metabolic health and fitness, I'm going to have fun along the way. So anyways, I share that because I want you, anybody who's listening, whether it's now or in the future, if you think, or you're discouraged, or you think, man, I don't know if I can do it. Like, my goals, people always laughed at my goals, or I never really believed in myself, or whatever it is, whatever might be going on in your mind. Like, you are going to die one day. I'm going to die one day. Why not live to the fullest? And I don't mean going out and living a hedonistic lifestyle, right? Like living like a wild man or wild woman. Like, I don't believe in that. I don't think that that's going to provide a truly meaningful, fulfilling life and a life of purpose. But I'm meaning like all these other things in life. Like, why not go for it? Why not go after that? And if you think that these goals, by the way, like are outrageous and laughable, and like preposterous and totally, impossible. Wait till you hear my other goals in my my career and finance goals and my marriage and family goals. Like those goals are ridiculously big too. And so for me, what I found fun about this whole process of learning how to set 10x goals, these seemingly humanly impossible goals, is not only do I learn how to think and dream bigger and have the boldness to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit myself to this. I have no idea how I'm going to achieve these goals. None. And at this very moment, there is no shred of evidence, no proof that this is actually an attainable goal. But it is a goal that means a lot to me. And it's a goal that it's part of this ideal future that I envision. And I'm going to work for it. I may fail spectacularly, but I'm going to fail spectacularly. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail spectacularly. I don't care. Because guess what? What if I actually achieve it? What if I actually achieve these goals in this category, in this category, in this category? To me, it's worth it. And even if I fail, I'm going to learn a lot along the way. I'm going to grow a lot along the way. I'm going to become a different person along the way. So even with my health goals or my fitness goals that I'm setting, if I'm doing the work, right, to put myself in a position, in the mindset, I'm a peak performance professional athlete. I'm an Olympian, a two-time Olympian. I'm an Ironman. I'm a bodybuilder. Like I'm a peak performance athlete. I'm healthy. I'm putting myself in the mindset. I'm shaping this mindset, this of incredible belief, and I'm doing the work. So there's behavioral congruence in what I say out loud and what my subconscious mind hears. And I'm actually doing the work and I'm showing up every single day doing the work. Even if I don't get anywhere close to the Olympics or the Ironman or bodybuilding, am I going to at least get closer to achieving that goal, the ultimate goal of achieving higher levels of metabolic health and fitness? 100%. Why? Because I'm going to be getting dialed in every single day and be consistent and disciplined in eating the proper human diet. Again, which I believe is a carnivore diet. I'm going to be exercising consistently 7 days a week, learning more about the body, learning how to push myself more without breaking myself, but also pushing myself past my comfort zone. So that's because that's where we grow. But the same thing applies to all my other goals when it comes to my career and finance, marriage and family goals, um, my hobby goals, right? Like one of the benefits too is like because I'm able to dream big and set big, seemingly impossible goals in this category. Well, when I set big, huge, seemingly impossible goals in my career and finance category, and my marriage and family category, and then my hobby category, they don't seem so impossible after all, or big and daunting and scary and impractical and crazy and outrageous. It's just like a norm now. It's like, oh yeah, I'm aiming for this, and I'm aiming for that, I'm aiming for that, and I'm aiming for that. And this is what I'm doing every single day to make progress towards this, progress towards this, progress towards this, and that. So it's not like I'm setting goals and big, huge, outrageous goals in only one category, and then the other category of my life, all the categories of my life, they're just like very small. No, it's like no, I'm raising the level of my own standard of performance and expectations. It's like, but it's not expectations where like I'm tying my self worth and my identity to it because I already said it's like I'm fulfilled right now. I know I'm being successful now because I'm doing the work right now that is congruent with the vision that I see of myself in 10 years from now, where I am a two-time Olympian, an Ironman, a 10-time all natural bodybuilder, right? Like all these different things that I'm saying. And that's just, again, the health and fitness category. But I'm doing things now that is going to make me successful. That's why I say I know. And I got that from, again, Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. They wrote this book, Gap and Gain Thinking, or something like that. It's Gap and the Gain. But it's a powerful book. But they say one of the things they tell you is you have to tell yourself out loud, I know I'm being successful when I'm doing this, dot, dot, dot. Because if you're constantly living in a future where you're like, I'm not going to be successful until I achieve this, it's going to be a real grind. And if you never achieve whatever that is, you're always going to be miserable. And so you set the goal, you use the big vision and the goals to set your compass to. And then you start doing the work that's congruent with that vision of yourself. But then you tell yourself along the way in the short term, I know I'm being successful when I'm doing this, dot, dot, dot. I know I'm being successful in regards to my ultimate 10-year goal when I'm eating a carnivore diet. I know I'm successful when I'm consistently training my body and pushing myself every single day to go a little bit further, but not pushing myself like crazy, to hurt myself or damage or injure myself, but pushing myself like a proper athlete, professional athlete would. Starting to push yourself a little bit more, a little bit more, right? Same thing in regards to my career goals, my finance goals, marriage and family goals. I know I'm being successful when dot dot dot. When I'm doing this dot dot dot. And then the times where you slip up and you're not in congruence, right away. Like if I know I'm a peak professional athlete, I'm going to compete in 2 Olympics. I'm going to complete the Hawaii Ironman. I'm going to compete in 10 back to back every single year. I'm going to compete. I will compete in 10 all natural bodybuilding competitions every single year for the next decade. If that's what I'm consistently saying and I'm doing the work, well, the times where like I, go ham on some pancakes, right away I know, wait a second, like hold up here. There's no congruence with what this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is out of the norm. This is an outlier. And that's not to say you can't have those little cheat meals here and there, right? But when this was a norm for me, getting after some pancakes, right? Getting after some waffles, getting after some ice cream, some pizza, like eating hella unhealthy. Like when that was the norm for so long in my life, and now this is, well, the times that if I do go indulge, that stuff just like, nah. Yeah, I had these pancakes, but nah. Like I'm all ready to get me back in the gym to start working because I did not like that. I do not like how I feel when I do this. And that's the game. That's the benefit. That's how you know you're changing, because you're going to start seeing yourself like, wait a second. I remember a time in my life when I used to willingly give into stuff like that. And maybe for you, it's not food. Maybe it's porn, or maybe it's alcohol. Maybe it's drugs. Maybe it's like retail therapy where you just can't stop buying stuff, right? Or maybe it's just entertainment, or maybe it's just a wrong way of thinking. Maybe you have anger issues, right? And so when you start overcoming stuff and you start becoming this new different person, when you see yourself, kind of indulging in the way you used to be, you're like, wait a second, I don't like that. Like I don't like that anymore. Like that's who I used to be. That's what I used to do. I'm not down with that anymore, right? So, anyways, another thing I want to mention is, just quickly to update, I'm on day 4 of I thought yesterday was day 4. I got confused because yesterday was September 4th. Today is day 4. Yesterday was day 3 of my 101-day challenge. Today is day 4 of my 101-day challenge. I'm on a carnivore diet, and I've been doing a hyper carnivore diet. So I still eat a small amount of fruit, primarily pineapple, a little bit of watermelon, a little bit of honey, small amounts of honey, and then a little bit of dates. Those are good because I just recently got my blood test done last Monday, and I saw that my glucose is really high. My glucose is like 168, which is pre-diabetic range. And then also my HbA1c was 8.8, which is not good. That's sitting on a cliff, right? So I've been doing the work to start reversing that diabetes, because I'm of the opinion that a lot of these illnesses, these chronic illnesses and diseases, what some people call Western diseases, because it's not prominent in other parts of the world, it's largely because of what we're eating. It's lifestyle decisions that lead to type 2 diabetes, to heart disease, to artery disease, to kidney disease, fatty liver disease. Those are all brought on by lifestyle factors. What we're eating and what we're not eating, and whether we're exercising or not, right? But I also believe that you can actually reverse these things. You can reverse type 2 diabetes, and that's one of the things that I'm on my path to doing. So I've been getting it in, working. I go for a walk 45 minutes every day, just trying to start layering it on. 45-minute walk every single morning, and then start getting into the DDP yoga, and then the knees over toes, and then I got these things that start building up my arms, or excuse me, my shoulders, and then I'll start adding in the X3 bar and start building out muscle. All the meanwhile, still implementing consistently eating a carnivore diet, implementing cyclical fasting, so variations every single week. My fasting days is usually going to be somewhere between Monday through Friday. So some days maybe one day a month I'll do like a 5-day water fast, Monday through Friday. Some days, some weeks I might do an alternate day fasting where I fast on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but then I eat on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays and Sundays, right? So just is all going to depend. And one of the aims of that and the strategies and the think behind that is to become metabolically flexible. I'm training my body to be metabolically flexible. And so it can go in and out of ketosis. and it's just constantly. It's like a way to, if they call it a hormetic stressor. And so you're learning how to stress the body just a little bit, not too much so your body goes crazy and is like freaking out and is jacking up the hormones and all this stuff. Not that much, but enough healthy stress on the body to keep the body guessing a little bit, right, and having to adapt, and to build, ultimately to build a stronger, more flexible metabolism, and ultimately a stronger body. So I've been doing that, exercising consistently, getting good rest. I've been sleeping actually about 8 hours of sleep, thank God. Usually, for the longest time, I'd sleep only like 5.5 to 5 to 6 hours. I think I'd like to get back down to 6 hours so I can then have more time in the day. But ultimately, the most important thing is, what does my body need, especially as I start increasing the workload and the demands of my body to build this physique and this body that's capable of doing what I'm going to be asking of it to do. Not only just in athleticism, but the mind, and having a body and a mind to be able to perform at the highest levels in business. Because I've not even shared the goals and the vision that I have for my career and finances. Like, if you think I've set some crazy, ridiculous, stupidly impossible goals in regards to my health and fitness, wait till you hear my career and finance goals and my marriage and family goals. You'd be like, what? This dude's either delusional or this dude's onto something, and this dude's he's gonna make something happen. I hope I'm not delusional, but I'm leaning on me making something happen. So I do take a little bit of supplements, not much though. Definitely don't take steroids. I'm not on TRT or HGH or any of that stuff. No steroids, nothing. Ergo, I'm going to be competing in all natural bodybuilding, so you're going to be getting tested. And with all natural bodybuilding, they're pretty strict. If you pop out once, you're forever banned from the sport of all natural bodybuilding, and you're going to be on like a wall of shame. They literally have like a wall of shame that got people that have got caught cheating because they did a random drug test and found that these people were actually on the juice. Lastly, which is kind of cool, for the first time, I ordered this. Boom, CGM, continuous glucose monitor. Instagram can see it. Let me see if I can put it up there. Okay, so yeah, so I just bought a continuous glucose monitor, Stelo. This is this is a continuous glucose monitor, and so what it is it monitors your glucose and the blood and your sugar 24/7, and it has an application which is phenomenal. So for the longest time, you can only get one of these through prescription, but the FDA approved over-the-counter CGMs earlier this year, and this summer, the first one came out, Stelo. I think I was doing some research, and I think there's some other brands that are going to be pushing out their products soon. But I saw that I can order this, so I ordered it right away. I just got it today. It's kind of cool. Again, it's like if you're gonna take extreme ownership of your life, you cannot neglect anything in your life. You can't neglect your spiritual life for sure. That's the starter, right? Because that's how you determine and find out for yourself, why are we here? Why am I even here in the first place? But after that, you got to take control of your health. One of the ways that I've decided to take extreme ownership over my own health is I went out and ordered lab work to be done. I use this to guide me. Common Sense Labs. It's a great, phenomenal book. I recommend you get it. It's like $20 or something like that on Amazon. They tell you, Dr. Ken Berry recommends what labs you should order. And if you have a primary healthcare physician, ask them to try to order these labs. And if they, for whatever reason, don't, which I don't know why, but oftentimes they won't order you stuff. If you're like, hey, and I've had this before when I was at the VA and I asked them, hey, can you order this? They're like, no, you don't need that. We're not going to order that. I'm like, well, no, I want it to. Can I? No, we're not going to order it. Bruh. It's like, I want to get it done. You know what I mean? So good thing is you're not held hostage to whatever your doctor is able, is or isn't willing to order you. Get this book. You'll learn how you can order your own labs. I ordered my labs last week. Got my blood drawn a week and a half ago. It's cool because then you have your own little online portal, and the results get delivered to your portal online on the app, so you can check it. And then whenever you get lab work done, if you go through them, you order it online, and they have like hospitals and like places that you can do your blood drawn, get your blood drawn everywhere around the country. And they even have a service where you can actually pay like $35, $40 or something like that, and have somebody just come to your house and draw blood from you and take your urine and then they go and test it, and then you get the results back on your online app, your portal, and every single time you get blood work, you at least have it all archived, right? And you can track your progress over time. So that's one of the ways that I decided to, hey, I'm going to actually take control of my life and my health, especially as I'm going to get more and more dialed in with every single day and every single week. And I start working with coaches, professionals, experts in their specific craft, right? When I'm training with somebody who's an expert in the sport of fencing or pistol shooting or running or obstacle course running or bodybuilding, I want to be able to show all of the data points. Hey, here's where I am health wise. Here's my vitals. This is what I'm eating. Here's my diet. I'm tracking everything. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to roll it out and be like, all right, here's my vision of what I see. Can you help me? What do we need to do for me to achieve, the highest level in these, master the fundamentals in this sport and in this sport and this sport, and help me to dial things in accordingly. That's one of the reasons why I'm tracking. But ultimately, it's so I know how to, have a baseline of where I started and where I need to make adjustments, in regards to my diet, what food is doing what. So that's why I also got this, the little CGM, continuous glucose monitor. I recommend you go get it, even if you don't have diabetes. It's just a good thing to be able to track and see how your blood is, how your body's responding, your blood sugar is responding to everything that you do in life, whatever you eat, even if it's a snack or a big meal, or if it's, you exercise you're doing, or you're sleeping, or whatever you drink, you're drinking coffee, anything that you do, it's going to be able to show up on an application. And so I was able to track it. I set it up this afternoon. This one's kind of cool because I've never done like the pricking of the finger or anything like that. I'm just not a big fan of that, even though I got tattoos. Like, I'm not afraid of needles. I just prefer not to be sticking my finger with a needle, like, every day or multiple times a day. And so this is kind of cool because, well, first of all, if you're afraid of needles, you don't feel it. Like, I literally put it on my arm back here. Like, I'll show you kind of what it looks like. But I put it on and I didn't feel a thing. Like, legit, I did not feel a thing. I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, no needle. Okay. So it looks like this little thing. You twist it off, and there's a needle, there's a little sensor. This thing is on there with a needle, and then you put it on, whatever, and then you push it in, and it's done. And literally didn't even feel a thing. But it's not because I'm fat. I just didn't feel it. So it's a pretty cool product. And like I said, it comes with it actually comes with an app that's included. So you automatically get to track your progress, and it's constantly monitoring you 24/7. And the benefit about these things, at least this model, is you wear it for up to 15 days. So this is the box that it came in, this little box right here. And it came, as you can tell, 2 little sensors. So this is basically, you get 2 for a month. It cost me $89 if you sign up for the subscription, the monthly subscription, $89. And if you're paying month to month, or you just one-time purchase, and it's like $99. So it's worth it, in my opinion. I think you can get it even cheaper, like if you go through your physician and you get a prescription for it. But for paying over the counter, to me, it's worth it. I'm like, hey, $100 a month, it's worth it to me because I get to track data in real time. Every single time I eat something, drink something, I'll be able to see how is that affecting my blood sugar. When I'm training, I get to see, because it's tracking 24/7. I get to see and monitor how is my body responding, and then I can make adjustments accordingly through the guidance of proper health experts and physicians. And then when I start working with coaches and all that stuff, it's just going to be very helpful to have all this data. So anyways, that's the latest update on my 101-day challenge. I'm on day 4, and I just got my CGM today, my very first CGM ever, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So anyways, I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully this is helpful. If not, but either way, I'm still going to be recording this because for me, it's helpful. It's a way for me to document my journey. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to journaling. And so for me, it's just much easier to just hit record. And thankfully, there's free platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter or X. And I'll be soon enough streaming to all the other platforms as well. And it's a way for me to just archive this stuff. And hopefully, maybe other people will find it helpful too. And if not, at least I have it for myself, my own purposes, so I can look back and reflect on where I was at different periods of my life, just like a journal. Because I have a journal before, but I just have never been consistent in it. But the times where I have picked up journals and like just open it randomly to a different, random page, and then like boom, 2008 or 2012, 2016, 2019. It's like I was instantly transported to that time. And I'm like, wow, I'm reading, my own writing, and it was beneficial. I have a feeling this is going to be the same thing for me, but even more so because then I can actually hear myself, see myself, and speak, extemporaneously off the cuff, and just about something that just, going with the stream of consciousness of what's on my mind at the moment. So, anyways, it's beneficial for me for that. And then when I get married and have kids, grandkids, they can all look at it like, man, look at when dad was a chubby dude, or look at when grandpa was a fatty, and when he put himself out there. But man, look at what he accomplished, and look at how much he's changed his life, and what he's been able to accomplish with God's help since then. So it's beneficial for me in that sense. And I decided to do this publicly because I thought, well, why don't I just document my journey? And if it helps other people, glory to God. Because again, I just want to be useful. I want to be helpful. I want to help people. And if this is one of the ways that I can help people, even if it's just one person, and maybe that one person isn't going to come across these videos for like another couple of months or years, hey, to me, it's worth it. Why not? All right. I'm David Jeremiah, and I'm going to stop this now because I'm going to go down and get something to eat so then I can track my blood sugar and see how this is working in real time. Until next time, tomorrow, Friday, September 6th, when I'm live at 5 again for the last time this week. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you all, and have a wonderful evening. Bye.